chips. Yeah. We're on the air. It's time to go. Best time of the week.
If you're sitting here watching this stream today, you cannot underestimate how ahead of the curve you are right now.
Bitcoin looks tired. All coins look hungry.
I'm just not quite sure that Bitcoin has any more solves.
I still think this thing is really worth a lot more than it is.
This stuff's spooky, man. These chaos PRZs are intense.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Solana is highly performant and has the team with the experience to support it.
$4,800 Ethereum. That's a big move here.
Whatever you do, always play from a position of strength. Yeah, same here. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to DeltaFi Thursdays with Hxro Labs. Myself, RT, Rob Levy, and the one and only Crypto Messiah, also known as Messi.
Just Messi now.
Just Messi. OX Messi, the ETH Maxi. Now, we are back. We're talking a little bit about Pelosi in Taiwan before the break, more in the context of how boring that narrative was, but also in the context of like why. I think somebody needs to learn how to make chips. Chips and dips. Market's kind of boring right now, but there is an ETH2 derivative narrative sliding through the market as expected. So we've got things like OP leading. We've got things like, what was the other one? METIS just took off today. I have a bet on BOBA as being another ETH L2 that's going to move. So we've got some bets. Get a little price action. Robbie.
Yeah.
You were talking about something important that happened today with BlackRock. Can you touch on that?
Yeah,
BlackRock.
I feel like
BlackRock. Okay, sorry.
I feel like Coinbase is like taking a lot of pipe lately.
There we go.
A lot, and it's really, really great to see this thing right now trading like $95. It traded below. I think it might have kissed $40. In May. This thing, BlackRock's no joke. It's like $10 trillion of assets under management. The fact that they put a ton of time and energy and effort into this deal, and that Coinbase Prime is going to be offering crypto to their customers, it's a big deal. I mean, the bottom line is, listen, we're crypto guys. We're long-term believers here. But I think to many other people who are not and who are on the fence, like a lot of them think that this thing's dead. That really like crypto is a fucking scam. That like they're told by the energy environmentalists, ESGs, that this thing's got to die. They're told by everyone else everything's a scam. It's shit. This is so far from that. We know it. But when you see these things happening, you really know that under the surface, this is getting much, much stronger. Like
frothy.
Well, I really think one of those paragraphs in this article, RTS up on the screen, is pretty interesting. And it's our institutional clients are increasingly interested in gaining exposure to digital asset markets and are focused on how to efficiently manage the operational life cycle of these assets. So, I mean, it shows you that this institutional bid, this big money bid is not dead. This BlackRock news is big because it expands access to our little world here. And it definitely shows that there's still interest, on the side.
Of course there is. There's going to be interest. Look at gold. I mean, gold is $1,790. This thing, I mean, it's the most ancient rock around. It's been a store value forever. Like, there's still interest in this thing.
Yep.
You could have said that gold would be.
Well, I don't even know the ticker for gold. Remind me.
XAU.
XAU. I think I have it on
like
here. 10,000 derivatives.
GC is the future at the CME. Then there's GLD, I believe, is an ETF at
NYSE Arca. I want the one that shows like a per ounce price. These are all like weird ETFs.
All right,
and shit.
you can do like a CFD type thing. Go to like gold, GOLD.
Yeah, there we go. Just an ounce price. There we go. Oh, good. That's the one I've been charting. Okay. Yeah. Gold is boring.
I know, but the bottom line is like, if we think digital currency and this stuff is dead already, I mean, you're out of your effing mind.
It's weird. Yeah. Actually, I was just on the golf course yesterday with a couple of lovely gentlemen, maybe in their like upper 50s, lower 60s, and we got to chatting. You know, one of them had put some money in with somebody to help them get exposure to crypto, and I talked to him about how that's almost always going to end poorly, and it did. He told me. And the funny thing is, he said, is there any custodial solution for somebody like me who just wants exposure to this? And I kind of talked to him about how that's so against the mantra, and you should just learn this, be your own bank, and then find a passive asset platform, and how, like, you know, they all just imploded. But what's really sad is I didn't have an answer for him. I was like, I honestly don't know if there is a custodial solution for you right now that I would recommend.
Yeah.
Celsius? Probably not. BlockFi? Still not. I mean, who?
Yeah.
I think stacked crypto, you know, what Birch and those guys have built with like an API to your exchange and you secure the shit out of your FTX, like that's probably best bet. But we're in Ontario, can't even have FTX Binance. So it's really weird. I don't know what to tell them.
Huh. You can't. That is interesting. Listen, I mean, the bottom line is if people, like, it's almost like a second step. If they want exposure, which we think they should have exposure in like USD terms or Canadian dollar terms, then they should just open up a Coinbase or FTX account and buy some and just store
and
it.
just understand a little bit, just enough to not transfer it to the wrong person and do dumb shit, right?
Yeah.
I kind of talked him through that. I said, you know, and I think I gave him our stream. I said, maybe he's watching.
You
today,
guys
if you are watching, hello. It was fun playing golf with you.
But RT, you guys in Canada, you have like an exchange traded product.
Yeah. I mentioned that. We do have an ETF in the stock market. That's kind of cool. Like you can get a piece of that. It's in the Toronto Stock Exchange.
I mean, I tell people right now with the massive discount, I think GBTC is good. Like
at some point, that spread or whatever it's called, the discount is going to be eroded. You know, look, I don't know when. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's the year after. At some point, it's going to get converted to an ETF. It just is.
Yeah. And or they're just gonna. It's gonna get big enough to where someone just says, "Okay, we're gonna fucking take the whole thing down," or whatever.
I mean, what's the discount right now? Like 30%?
It was more. It's 30. It was like almost 40 at one point. I think it's 35% ish.
Okay, so let's say, you know, the price of Bitcoin right now is what, like $22,000, $21,000, something like that.
It's 22.9 at 23.
Okay, so let's just call it 23. You know, so you're a big dick, you know, and you want exposure to Bitcoin. You can come in and get that exposure, and it's like buying Bitcoin at $15,000 right now. I mean, you're getting that level of discount. That's pretty enticing.
Yeah, but like you said, that the discount can get bigger. It can.
Yeah, for sure. That's the risk.
So that gap exists because of something to do with like a lockup, right? Like there's got to be some other side to that where it's not just at parity.
Yeah, there's like a lack of a redemption function in this type of trust they have.
You can't actually have your Bitcoin, but it's
really similar to Unforks and the whole RFV trade, except for there's no RFV. You know, for our crypto native listeners.
Okay.
Yeah. But
so there's options. It should be clear cut. No, I mean that's evidence to me that we're still early. There's no de facto way to just jump in here.
But the question you're asking is about custody. If they trust their typical custody of brokerages and FCMs and like what they're used to, if it's someone older from how this whole market has evolved, then this is a quote unquote stock that you could buy with your stockbroker or whatever account you have. So you don't technically have to worry about custody there.
Somebody did mention in chat there is a management fee that comes alongside GBTC, which I guess makes it a bit
2% fee TA.
Yeah.
I mean, it was weird because I'm sitting there talking about, this is what I do. This is, we're chatting. And then he's like, okay, give me a straight question. It was a pretty simple question and I didn't have a good answer. So I'm glad we discussed it a bit. I'm sure there's somebody watching, who will appreciate that discussion because, to me, and what I really told him, which he just kind of obviously glazed over, was like describing how to custody his own stuff. And frankly, I don't even know if that's good advice for a lot of people. I think a lot of people will get lost in the midst and get hit up on Telegram and give it all away. Like, it's dangerous. It's a cesspool out here for people who don't understand. So I think custody will have a place. Anyways, enough about all that. Let's talk markets. What's hot? What's even? I haven't even looked today. I've been busy this morning. What's going on the price charts today?
I'm telling you, the thing that looks like the most volatile shitcoin of them all today is Coinbase stock.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the news.
It's up 18%. It traded up to, I'm looking, there was a print at like $118 today, or 116. So, I mean, but yeah, let's talk real coins.
Real crypto. I mean, yeah, Coin did that overnight thing where you can't trade it, but it can move kind of thing.
Yeah.
Crazy. Gapped up higher. The weekly looks delicious. I mean, I know a lot of guys at TRI have been nibbling away at Coin just based on this kind of level and this whole kind of, so this really should confirm a certain breakout. So let's see. Trickles down. Everyone forgets about it. And I don't think it's a bad place to build a position. And if crypto does really well, Coinbase should.
Coinbase gives you great proxy exposure to crypto.
Exactly.
If you're a boomer and you don't want to,
Well, look, for those who are on stocks, I mean, Mara last year, Marathon Digital Holdings, crushed last year during the crypto bull market, right? So there are tons. I think, what's some other ones? Riot, I actually banged out some nice trades last year on Riot, went crazy. So look at these things. These are crypto proxies in the stock market, and they're all kind of forming bases, probably going to move sideways for a year, but yeah, there's ways to do it in stocks.
Yeah.
What's the last one? Okay, Galaxy. We'll give a shout to our homie. Where is it? I don't even know that friggin' thing. GXY? Galaxy. I don't know. What's Novogratz's one?
Yeah, it's Galaxy. It's a Toronto.
Yeah. It's a Canadian boy. I don't know. Anyways.
Galaxy Digital.
Galaxy Digital. There it is. Same thing, right? I mean, they all just are going to mirror. And we're sitting in 88.6s. So I actually love this. If I didn't have all my stock account in some shitty mushroom stock that is underwater, I would probably buy some. But all right, let's neither here nor there. Let's look at ETH. What do you think about ETH here? It's at a really weird place. It's like it won't break down, but it won't break out. It's just chop.
I'm gonna let the ETH man talk about his baby here.
I was leaning on you, Messi. That was your cue. He's looking over at the left, like checking out the Xmon chart.
Look, so Ethereum, I'm looking at it. I am still super bullish on it. I don't see anything fucking bearish about that chart at all. Worst case scenario, as we've been seeing for the last couple of days, people start to go stir crazy, and I think that scenario is what would lead to some kind of sell off. People getting impatient.
Rotate
just chopping
floors.
around. Look at these little dojis we've been printing for the last couple of days. I've been sitting here go up or down. Just fucking do something. I see people on Twitter just losing their fucking minds. It's so funny because and people are down horrific and people are fucking bored when every 1, 2, 3% move or whatever. You see the "I told you so" posts come out, and it's like, man, if you zoomed out, look at this fucking shit. Nothing's happened. We're all just losing our minds right here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm still looking at this. I'm still super bullish on it. Does it go sideways forever? Does it come back to 14? I'm still 100% sure this is going to 2,500 at least before the merge.
Yeah, I love 2,500.
I don't know the time. I don't know the timeline. I don't know. And I think it's going to happen and one really interesting thing about markups and markdowns too is that the action, it doesn't happen over a long period of time. It's going to melt up. It's going to go sideways. It's going to melt down. It's going to go sideways. So there's a lot of chop involved, and there's a lot of people really putting themselves in a bad position, which is why I don't day trade. I'm not good enough with risk management and shit like that to do it. I would consider myself a medium term, swing trader. I've got a vision. I can stomach the volatility. If ETH goes to 1,400, I'm okay, I still feel pretty good about it here. The end game is at some point before the merge, the price is going to be higher than it is now. And at some point before the merge, when the price is higher than it is now, I'm going to be shifting some of that risk that I've taken on towards more of a volatility muted portfolio construction. And we've discussed products that I like for that before on the show. Curve has a really nice one called Try Crypto 2. There's some
GLP?
people don't. Yeah, GLP is fantastic.
Some
people don't like Try Crypto 2 because there's a USDT component. And of course, there's always FUD. There's always shit going on with USDT. So there's actually something extremely similar to Try Crypto 2 on Balancer. And it is the same exact thing, which is 1/3 USD Seed, 1/3 Bitcoin, 1/3 Ethereum.
Which one's that?
So that might be more your fancy. It's on Balancer, and you can actually get a pretty good yield on it as well. I'm trying to look and see what this yield is.
I mean, imagine being a USDT truther after it survived like a $9 billion redemption in 1 week. My bank couldn't survive that. They would just say, sorry, we don't have it.
Even with all of the evidence, and I don't know if it's just psyops or what, like, you know, I do think everybody still has a bit of a funny taste in their mouth. Like, I'll put it this way. If I determine that I'm going to go pure cash in my portfolio, I'm not going to be exposing myself to USDT. And it's probably totally safe. It's the most Lindy stable there is. These guys, as RT said, have survived all of these redemptions. It's probably totally fine, but there's just been too much FUD, and like that fucks with my head.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sit in it like UST, like, you know, like anything. You don't want to sit too heavy in anything. And I sit here and I talk about how I think Tether truthers are idiots, and it's probably fine, but I am also mostly in USDC. The one weird tell for me, and this changes and I'll change my tune, is that FTX does not include it in their USD basket, and I still find that interesting. If Sam gives it a bid, I'll feel differently, but in their basket now they have, you know, BUSD, USD, or TUSD. They have like 6. Tether has its own slot on FTX, and I find that interesting. They're not willing to expose it to their base USD margin or whatever.
I think
so. Sam knows something.
Why
is that?
The largest customers of Tether.
I would not look too much. I wouldn't look too much into that, because think about what that would do to their Tether dollar conversion market and the money that they make on that. It would take it to zero. I've thought about that before. I think that's probably a big part of it. They have been making markets and in Tether for a long time. They are one of the pros at doing the redemption, the whole mechanism of creating and redeeming and then trading the shit. They make a ton of money on it.
FTX does?
Oh yeah, arbing it.
And Alameda. I mean, Alameda will go redeem like billions of dollars of it, and
to Tether directly, redeem it.
For them, for them, it's literally free money.
So they're just like enjoying that separation.
Absolutely, I think that
that makes sense.
Probably more.
You know, when we had that slight Tether depeg, the people that brought it back up to peg and arbed all of that and redeemed it, you know, that was Alameda, and I'm sure they made an absolute killing doing so.
It'd be like free money at that point. Imagine you buy $8 billion of dollars for 5% discount.
To capture 5, 7%.
What is 5% of 8 billion? Someone in the chat, please hit me up. My calculator doesn't go that high. Okay, look,
some big boy math.
Yeah, real quick, going back to Ethereum here. I mean, coming into resistance on bearish divergence, lowering volume. You're not going to get through this resistance on the first try. So nothing about this pullback to this point, if you even want to call it a pullback, is bearish. We are above the EMAs. Everything's rocking. And that's what I speculated last week too, is that of course I expect there to be a pullback. This is not the place to buy, but you know, it could trickle through here, and you know, like there's nothing bearish here. So it's really just a question of being patient. And there's an interesting stat. I don't have the exact one on me, Messi, but you kind of alluded to it, is the idea that there are very few big action days throughout a bullish year, right? It's this idea that people who try to play the S&P and like the whole year, like 80% of the year's move is in 15 days or something, and the rest is just noise. And if you miss 1 or 2 of those days because you're sidelined, you know, so the idea of trying to catch
it's devastating.
Yeah. So I think here, for me, my spot ETH is pretty much intact. I'm playing a little on perps for fun, but it's going to take more than 1, possibly more than 2 tries to get really through this level cleanly. It's just there's just so much action.
So really interesting. Have you guys heard of a guy on Twitter called 52 Skew? And that's the numbers 52 Skew.
I have not.
He's one of my favorite follows on Twitter. For everyone listening, I would definitely go check him out. But he monitors and tracks like flows on exchanges, and that's the way that he, you know, visualizes and portrays the market. And he made an interesting post last night that a couple of interesting over the last couple of days. One, there's been a lot of absorption to the downside on perps, and basically what that means is that there's been accelerated selling, but somebody is buying. Okay, so that the price isn't reacting to that selling as much as is being sold. And another thing, somebody in FTX is supposedly, allegedly defending an offside position. Maybe they're net short and they're trying to knock it down. I'm not sure if he's always right, but a lot of times I think he provides really good insight onto actually, hey, this is going on here, this is going on there. That's kind of interesting. That happened when I tried to pull him up on
It's like
my
very
main account.
sneaky.
When I looked him up on my alt account, though, he popped right up. So I don't know what's going on.
I'll try to find him then over there.
No.
All right. Well, I mean, I like on-chain shit. I don't do a lot of it myself. By a lot,
So it's not on-chain; it's on exchange,
or on exchange. Any of that kind of more data
watching deltas
analytics.
and volume flows. And
I
stuff
like
that.
that shit. But I don't do it.
Really cool.
Yeah, I think. I mean, September. What is it? September 18th. What is this date that we're kind of tracking now for the merge?
Somewhere around there.
It's not too far away. It's 6 weeks away.
Yeah, let's get close.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at some of the September options. Then are probably.
And, one thing about these sell the news events too, which I have full confidence the merge will at first be a sell the news event and eventually be something that ends up being very bullish for Ethereum, not just from a narrative perspective, because now Ethereum's not a world polluting, world destroying proof of work chain. We've transitioned to proof of stake, but it totally changes the economics as well. It's been called like a triple halving event, and as we all know from history with Bitcoin, Bitcoin halvings tend to be bullish at some point after the actual event occurs. A lot of times though, there is like this pump into it and then subsequent sell the news. So look, I'm very, very bullish on the merge. We'll see if it happens on time. I think it will. They've done a ton of testing. Everything is allegedly going pretty well. So,
Look at
wait and see.
Yeah, no, and look, ETH is ETH. It's going to lead, but it's as is the case with so many of these things. I'm really looking for the higher beta plays, partially because at this point I just don't see ETH as a great buy, and so I'm like, oh, what can I trade that will gain from this narrative? And there is some, like, ooh, what hasn't moved yet? But it's like inherently, it's like maybe you should look what is moving because it's actual strength. But there are some echoes available here. Multi seems to be breaking out today. I was looking at that. Let's go look at my little watch list I've been building. METIS finally caught the bid very recently. I think actually I got a better chart here. So it's kind of reclaimed this level, and it's in a bit of a gap here. So
there was a really good thread on METIS by small cap scientists, I think yesterday or the day before. Another really good follow if you guys are into gyms and stuff like that.
Okay, that's what they're talking about.
The meme about METIS forever, and I think we discussed this on DeltaFi at some point in the past, was that we were so greedy at that point, and people were just aping into everything. Yeah, guys, definitely a follow. He's awesome.
Follows me. I didn't even follow him. That's rude.
People were just aping into fucking whatever, right? And the narrative at that point for METIS was Vitalik's mom works there.
Which is awesome.
It's awesome, but at the same time, that's not going to pump a $100 billion something market cap project to billions of valuation. Nobody. So what? Vitalik's mom. So what? But now, I think that there's something similar to Avalanche Rush going on. They have some kind of farming incentives program, and that's definitely a fundamental underlier that could spur some momentum. And the chart
I heard about that ecosystem fund or whatever.
Yeah, the chart looks great.
Yep, there's nothing wrong with this chart. It's starting a new trend. That's just the way it is. It gave us even a juicy signal with the volume on that breakout. Put something out to the extent of like, here we can buy this dip or we can buy that dip. Both of those dips came in within reason. I don't see any reason to get bearish in this till 70s at least.
Was that a real thing that Vitalik's mom works there?
Yeah, she does.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, his dad is Dimitri Buterin's an angel investor. He's put his feet into the water a few times. Actually, weirdly, my brother-in-law knows him. Like,
What is
Dimitri's an awesome dude.
yeah, they're from Toronto. So like my brother-in-law actually has had lunch with him and stuff. They hang out. He says he's really cool. He knew Vitalik when he was like 7. So they are around. They are real people. I'm not surprised his mom is helping with something to do with crypto. It doesn't seem that way.
No. I think both his parents are.
It's just
quite
funny. Like the
involved.
jokes write themselves. Like, hey,
It's funny. Well,
talking to your mom today.
yeah. So what is the pronunciation here? I don't want to sound like an idiot when I talk. Métis?
It's METIS.
Aye, matey. METIS.
It's METIS, Rob. So METIS. Look, I don't fucking know. They need to start naming these things like more reasonable like things.
It's
like, who
French,
can
dude. It's
pronounce
not that weird. But actually,
weird.
Coach in the chat last week was kind of like, bro, you're Canadian. You should know it's Métis.
Wait, did you just say it's French? Yeah, I'm not going to buy that then. We don't.
If it's Métis, then it's French
it's
as
not-
a word, but I don't know.
It's not a pirate play.
Hi,
Métis.
Métis. Yeah.
METIS.
So let's talk multi-chain for a sec, because Synapse, Multi are moving, and I'm seeing something interesting on STG finally. After this big Gartner hype cycle that Gunny likes to talk about, you come out, you're
Coinbase
hot.
listing, bro.
Coinbase listing. Well, yeah, that's that. They hinted that like 2 weeks ago, though. But then look here, you can see a significant uptick in volume. So buyers are here. The kinds of buyers who put bottoms in markets doesn't mean it is a bottom. Sometimes you see this and then it breaks to a new low and you do it again. But this is looking promising for the first time since the dump.
Yep.
A lack. And now you've
It's
got multi
good
pumping and you've got, yeah. So
Bridges that haven't gotten smoked are looking bullish. I think
there's only 3 left.
I think just on a fundamental like value accrual, fee accrual basis, I think multi is still the undisputed champion. Though, I think they're processing, extraordinary volume relative to other people.
And they're
maybe
looking.
that is washing and stuff. I don't know.
Let's go look at a better chart, because multi is one I know was on our radar like last year, before the collapse of the empire. Let's see, where is it? Multi-chain.
Ooh, got a good question. Why doesn't anyone talk about Ren as the most secure bridge?
I'll tell you exactly why.
Yeah, tell us.
Because, for those of you that have followed me or known me for a while, I was a big Ren holder for years. Ren supporter, helped grow the community. Really, really smart, really good folks there. The main issue with Ren was in a world where emissions drove mania to where rewards drove adoption. Ren had last generation token economics of fixed supply. Now, as a long-term holder, that's probably good for you. If it does catch organic traction, then you're going to be in a good position because you're not getting diluted, right? It's just pure value accrual. But when you've got multi, when you've got Stargate, when you've got all these different bridges, Synapse, maybe, I think too, having emissions to incentivize liquidity and usage of the bridge, it's really difficult for something like Ren to compete with that. And I think that's been one of the biggest struggles, with the adoption of the Ren technology and the Ren bridge. But there's a new app called Catalog, which has these next-gen token economics, which has, this inflationary supply schedule that I do believe is going to kind of fill in that gap, of what Ren is missing. So look, Ren is literally an Alameda project now. Alameda bought Ren. Unfortunately, with that, you see these legends that really grew the Ren community, like Long Wang, the funniest name in crypto, Taiyang Zhang, who is really, really good buddies with Suzu, RIP. Those guys aren't really around anymore. But the thing is with Alameda at the helm, this project has infinite runway, as long as they're making progress, as long as they don't say, hey, we're just fuck this, we're going to kill it. So as a long-term prospect, Ren is probably value here. You're buying it at close to like $100 million FDV, fully diluted valuation.
What's the value prop on the token? I know that's such a mid-curve question, but I'm just curious.
Say that again?
Does usage drive token value or demand, or is it like a governance kind of like, it's a mid-curve question, but it always begs the question when it's so low in its range?
I think that that's a factor in driving, value. But for something like this, REN, when you stake it in a node, I think it costs 100,000 REN to have a node, to have a dark node, or it might be 10,000.
100,000. It used to be 100,000.
Anyway, there's direct value accrual there. So a lot of these projects, and I think moving forward, right now we're in a value market. We're in a market where people are looking for things with adoption. People are looking for things that have cash flows, because Ponzi-nomics, flywheels, don't work when new participants aren't flooding the system, or maybe they do, but nobody's made one that great yet. So with something like this, or really anything else, I mean, you have to look at it kind of, in my opinion, like a boomer. What's the PE ratio? What's the PS ratio? Are the metrics improving? Are there more people that are beginning to use this? Which you could look, kind of like, hey, in the future, like you're buying future value at a huge discount. So I think a number of things, drive this value for these governance tokens. Pure governance, not so much. But I mean, there's counterexamples to that as well, like Uni. We discussed this in the last show. I mean, the purpose of Uni is to vote on giving money to people, which is,
valuable if you have a lot at stake in that network, right?
Very valuable.
Yeah. Yep, and valuable to the people who are the entities who put floors into markets. So I can see Uni. It's a great example as what governance could be valued at. But I think for the most part, a lot of these governance tokens, obviously the value comes from the underlying network value, and a lot of it is speculating that they'll have that later, and they actually don't have it. So I find them risky. But look, in bull season, nobody asks what the token does, right? It is a mid-curve question. It's a bear sideways type market question, and it's one that I'm asking myself more and more through this. There will be a day when it's like, is it green? Well, it looks green like the other one's green, so let's buy the green tokens. Like it, that's kind of happening with ETHL2s. That's my thesis on BOBA right now. Somebody's like, well, there's not a whole lot of TVL on BOBA. I said, I don't think the apes that I'm hoping will buy this bag are going to be reading about TVL. It's an ETHL2, and ETHL2s are moving. So
bear markets are where fundamentals start to really matter.
Yeah.
In a bull market, nobody gives a fuck. How green is the dildo on the chart? Like, is the number going up? How hard is it going up? How much hype is there?
Yeah. So when I see I mean, look at Optimism. Holy shit. When I see Optimism do something like this, presumably.
Rocket.
It's going to be, now it's looking like the number one ETH L2 along with like Matic, and Arbitrum doesn't have a token. This thing is marking up. It's marking up heavily. It's getting a slight decline in volume and momentum. So I wouldn't be shocked if this marks a local high for a little bit, but that's the move. And then I'm like, okay, what smells like OP? And then you look at METIS, and then you look at BOBA. And I think that they're going to get the rotation here, which from here for BOBA is about a double. So, but it isn't super liquid. Somebody did mention that on if it's even on Coinbase, FTX, Woo network, but it's not super liquid. So I'm being cautious with size. But I want my double. I want my BOBA. Reminds me of bubble tea. Actually, I got a nice trade on it just arbitrarily kind of back here from launch, and thank God I got the fuck out. But at 50 cents, she looks pretty. What's in your wallet, Robbie?
Man, I'm looking at Messi got me all hot and bothered about Ethereum and the merge.
Good.
And I do think that like an event is an obvious trading opportunity. Especially when it's kind of telegraphed, but that also means that you have to really kind of try to get some feel as to how big the market is positioned for whatever the event is. Yeah. And, the funny thing is people were talking about this to me who they were more kind of TradFi people about ETH 2.0 and the merge and staking and getting positioned for it when we were like in the 3,000s and even 4,000s. So like, the question is how many of those people kind of got rinsed, and if there's going to be some last minute positioning here, because it's a huge event. I mean, and we've never gone through something like this. It's 3 to 4 Bitcoin halvings. Like there's so many wild cards, and I'll tell you what, like I remember the EIP 1559 and there was all this talk about that, and then it kind of died out because the talk was way in advance. And then all of a sudden people are looking at it and like, oh, this hour was disinflationary.
Yeah, we're burning a lot of Ethereum. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
And I think that the potential for a similar sort of like immediate feedback loop like that could be really big, and we might see some crazy stuff happen. I don't know. I also am cognizant that the overall environment we're living in, this macro world of like, it kind of just reminds me more of like Gotham, like darkness right now, just globally. It's like we're living in kind of a darker version of.
We've gone film noir.
Yeah. So like, I don't think it's a time where the stage isn't necessarily set for Ethereum to do some real crazy shit and like double, like really just run to 3,200, 3,500. But that is not like out of the realm for these type of things.
Yeah, weird shit can happen. You know, and one general rule of thumb, you know, that I have, and this doesn't always turn out to be true, but a lot of times these news events, you do the opposite, you know, as the news event occurs, or very, you know, in close proximity to the news event, to what the market is doing leading up into the news event. So if something is selling off, or if Ethereum is actually bearish and we're all fucking idiots and we get trapped here and it's going to go down, right? And it sells off into the merge. After the merge actually occurs and everything's successful, it'll probably be a really good buy there. And on the flip side of that, if we do pump into the merge, then at some point before the merge, you know, the top is going to be in. People front run that news event. So if you think you're going to be the guy that says, okay, it merged, it's time to sell, like that's probably a bad plan. You know, you need to be looking at the merge maybe 1 week before it happens, 2 weeks before it happens. And that's when you start looking for tops, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I mean, events are trader dreams. So like you're going to see a lot of eyeballs on this, which to me just kind of means a lot of volatility. So be ready.
Yeah, that's the thing. You brought up a really good point. It's like, yes, it's an event. It's got a pretty significantly bullish tone, so that should be easy. But it's such a big event that every fucking player in the game is participating. And that means that every little trick is going to get played. There's going to be intense, you know, there's going to be a big entity trying to short the shit out of it. There's going to be another big entity buying that dip, and there's going to be another guy squeezing you this way. And I think mom and pops coming in, and I include us in that in the sense of like guys who don't move markets coming in are going to be up for a rude awakening if they think it's easy mode. And just to be aware, almost that 4D chess, like you got to think a bit beyond, number up till date, number down on the exact date. It almost certainly won't play out that way, because that's how I feel like it'll play out.
I think, you know, and this is, you know, edge, right? But there could be, I'm nearly certain there's going to be massive short positioning into the merge. People expecting the merge to fail. Now, if it does fail, that trade is going to pay off extremely well, right? But if it doesn't, then you've got a lot of people that were betting on it failing. And I do wonder if something like that, if that's like that, could lead to some kind of short squeeze that takes Ethereum higher than we could have projected.
Right into the 786, 3K.
Yeah, that said, are we going straight to 10K? You know, I'd say the chances of that are probably less than 10%, probably less than 5%.
You know what I think is an important metric that would be nice to look at would be what percentage of the newly minted ETH is actually being sold? Because there's this idea that, once that inflation drops and once all the staked ETH is locked for 6 months or as long as the next upgrade takes, there's this idea that there will be no more sellers. Are they the ones driving the selling? Is this coming from massive whale, like dormant wallets that are selling when market moves down? Or is it this constant sell pressure from miners? Like that kind of information right now would be interesting to me.
You kind of wonder too, are miners going to, because a lot of these miners do carry inventory in the shape of Ethereum. So you do wonder, are these miners going to liquidate their inventories as well at some point in the near future? Or, do they move their hash to Ethereum Classic? I think this whole ETH POW shit is just absolute bullshit. I don't think that this fork is going to catch any traction at all, or not really fork, because it'll be what Ethereum is now.
Yeah.
I will tell you something though. Justin Sun, he's getting his little dainty fingers into that.
I thought you were going to say a little something else, but
no, he's getting into the mix there. And I just saw a headline about $1.2 billion worth of USD is on Polon or ready, or is the first stable coin for ETH POW. Like, you can just see it.
Come on. Okay, let me explain exactly, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but this is exactly why ETH POW, that's kind of what it's being called right now, is a massive failure already. It's because of DeFi. Literally. Because all these protocols, all this collateral, this USDC, this USDT, everything is going to become worthless. And it's going to just be the biggest clusterfuck of just, absolute rape that you've ever seen. And if you think you're going to be the guy to get on ETH POW and sell your USDC or whatever, I've got bad news for you. There are people that have already written MEV bots to do this at the exact second this event occurs, at the exact block. There are people that are going to make money on this. It's not going to be you. But literally every application, every fucking thing that makes Ethereum POW, what we're on right now, valuable, is going to be obliterated in an instant. That same problem doesn't exist on Ethereum Classic. And that's why I think Ethereum Classic, maybe even Zcash, could be good places for a lot of this hash to go.
Well,
although Zcash is moving to proof of stake as well, although I'm not sure the timeline.
Well, that's two berry coins right there. So
yeah, so
it's gonna be a big week.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big week.
ETH Classic could get could get some action.
Yeah.
Think about the hash rate on Ethereum Classic, increasing by a factor of 50x or something like that. That's going to drive the price up.
Well, do you remember when that thing was getting attacked all the time and it cost
because you can 51% attack it for pretty cheap.
It cost $10,000 to 51% attack it. I don't know. It was something.
Go for another dip in the pond here.
But you can see, Ethereum Classic's performed really, really well recently. And I do think that's people front running the migration of hash from Ethereum to Ethereum Classic.
Is there anything built on it? Is anyone hey, there's an ecosystem fund over at ETC. There's DeFi. What's going on over there?
I don't really think there's a lot going on over there. And honestly, I think that's a huge drop ball because during this L1 season, a lot of these L1s were so successful because Ethereum was cost prohibitive to use. So if Ethereum Classic, which shares the same characteristics as Ethereum, had just tried to catch some of that new retail inflow, it tried to catch some of that overflow from Ethereum, I think that there could have been something going on over there. But I never heard about it.
Well, I've never touched it. It's one of those weird coins like LTC. I've just been classic side silver, but
I saw I was I was tickled the other day. I was looking at the FTX kind of volume markets page, and ETH Classic Perpetual was the 4th highest volume future on their exchange. And today I just pulled it up. It's number 5. So 24-hour volume for the ETH Classic.
Your mic is still on, and you're on the phone.
Perp.
This is FY.
is 187 million. I mean, people are playing it. It's a good play. It's going to be events are fun.
Events are super fun.
Yeah.
Look, I still like one of the really interesting things, because crypto has shared this high correlation, with the NASDAQ recently, S&P 500, those types of things. I'm looking at these major indices and they are at resistance right now. Whereas when I look at crypto, it seems like crypto has, depending on how you're looking at it, we have some more room to go to like absolute monster resistance. Of course, we have that nasty horizontal level. But the charts aren't looking the exact same anymore, to me. And then we have like this pause in rate hikes, but I don't think other countries are not hiking rates in August. So we may see the dollar, I think, pull back a bit here. There's some parabolic advances that I've drawn from the beginning of the dollar's massive rise in value.
Oh, I saw that. You posted those, yeah.
It actually, so it broke down. Actually, it broke back up when Pelosi visited Taiwan. Not sure if those two events are related, but it's actually broken the parabola back down again. So it's interesting. I do think that if we do have some kind of big dollar correction, that could historically, you see Bitcoin bull runs occur when the dollar is moving to the downside. The meat of the bull run. I think.
This was the 2017 bull run. Here was our most recent bull run. Actually, it ran all the way to here. But yeah, so absolutely. If we correct down from here, that's going to be.
How long though have we been in a bear? How long has it been since these markets topped?
It really depends how you look at it. I think September, November, October 2021, for me, Q4 2021 is when it stopped. A lot of people are trying to speculate saying, well, the bear was actually done in the spring. That new high Bitcoin made was actually...
The second one was Alameda scam pump.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. I think it topped when it topped. I mean, we can see it on the charts. There was a ton of alts running insanity through last Q4, so you can't say that was a bear market 6 months in. Realistically, it's been 8 months. 9 months? So should they cycle? I think we're done with cycles. I really think we're done. There will be remnants of this 4-year cycle because people will trade it because it's a thing. But I think that's going to dissolve over time. I just don't think that as the market matures, it can be so beholden to a 4-year Bitcoin halving cycle. That's like a 20-year thesis. Do we see a 4-year cycle now? I mean, I fucking hope so. It's going to be a lot easier to trade if you just prepare for it for 2024. But I'm not buying it.
Look, the 2018 bear market, which I think everybody agrees was one of the most horrific bear markets they've ever witnessed, right? It took 330 days-ish for Ethereum to go from the Pico top to the Pico bottom. Okay? So right now, from the Pico top, let's act like, that was the Pico bottom, although who knows, that's 222 days. So looking out, if this were the same or similar at least, and we're looking at around 330 days, I mean, that puts the Pico bottom in sometime around early October. Just to show you how far into this bear we are. People are acting like, there has to be, more dumping. There has to be this prolonged blah, blah, blah. Like,
I don't think
we have been dumping for a really long time already. It just doesn't feel like that long.
It sounds silly and it frustrates people, but the fact is we're going to dump until there's no more sellers. And I'm going to decide if there's more sellers based on what I see on the charts. That's going to be a lack of sell volume. That's going to be break to new lows. Oh, there was no sellers there. There was no volume follow-up, exhaustion, divergence. We're seeing some of that, and we're seeing some of it at a fucking level you would expect to see it, which on Bitcoin is the previous all-time highs, like a big fucking support. So it's a lot of speculation on, how many days does it have to be? Or a lot of people, like you're saying, are talking about, it has to be 2 more years. I think that's a great way to get left behind, just living on sort of old, easy, it must be the same. Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying it's all bottom here. But I think the probability that we've seen the lowest low is like 50-60% to me. But
And one distinct difference between this time and last time, even if something like Ethereum, like Bitcoin, says okay, the lows are in, and now we've shaken out everybody we can through price action. Now we're going to continue to force people to sell just through boredom. Okay, let's say Ethereum has bottomed and it's going to range and it's going to go sideways for some period of time, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, who knows. This time we're going to there's more going on than just, hey, this is Bitcoin, this is Ethereum. There's not really a lot going on Ethereum except for ICO, vaporware, scam raises, blah blah blah. There's going to be opportunities here in this period. So even like RT is drawing that chop, like this is your chance. And this reminds me of a forgotten mindset. Okay. Like this is how we used to trade way back in the day. Everything was versus Bitcoin. Nobody gave a fuck about how many dollars you had or this or that. It was sats. We were stacking sats. You measured your portfolio in Bitcoin because you knew that Bitcoin was going to fucking moon and you wanted as much Bitcoin as fucking possible. Okay.
And because when Bitcoin moon, a lot of the friggin' altcoins you were trading were going to just disappear. Not too many.
This is the thing. There's a lot of building going on. There's a lot of apps. There's a lot of shit going on in crypto now. I think that if Ethereum and Bitcoin, if volatility really dies down, I think you're really going to see some great opportunities emerge to increase your Ethereum stack and to increase your stack of other, larger cap type things. Because if you're able to increase your Ethereum stack by 5x, and Ethereum at that point is, $1,400, I have no doubt in my mind that at some point in the future, one Ethereum is going to be like $10,000. So that's where compounding comes into play. It's almost free money. Like, hey, I've increased my ETH stack by 5x during this prolonged, period of sideways. Now Ethereum is going to pull 5x at some point in the future. Dude, you just banged out a 25x. That's crazy. That's insanity. That's how you really change your condition.
So you're considering the idea of pivoting that trade versus Bitcoin to trade versus ETH through the following.
I'm just saying, if we do go sideways, we're still not dead. There's shit going on here now. Mm-hmm. There's protocols, there's revenue, there's people that are still here. And look, a lot of people have fucking left, and that happens in every bear market. But relative to 2018, people right now are like, oh man, Twitter's a ghost town. I got to tell you, shit's popping relative to 2018, and people think that it has to get to the point it was in 2018, before we can continue. It's never going to get to that point again.
No, because we were actually dead
here. Yes, and people have found acceptance here. They found their people. They found communities. They have these NFTs. We are going to make it, and they're not just here for the money. They're here for the friends that they made and the people.
In it for the friends.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good point, because I was thinking about this the other day. Like, once I saw behind the curtain in 2017, there was no going back. Like, I was really passionate teacher. I really liked my job. It was a grind. It didn't pay well, but I loved it. But once I had kind of shifted my mindset, and I still taught for 2 more halftime years, but I lost it. I lost that fire that you need to be a teacher, because it's such a friggin' grind of a job. And so I pivoted out. The idea being like, crypto grabbed me, and I stayed through that gross bear. And I think every time we see that kind of cycle, another tranche of humans are stuck and remain. And yeah, there's the fair weather fans who come during the highs and leave during the lows and come back during the next highs and don't make it. But I think that we've built, and it was an exponential growth. I mean, 2017 to 2020 to 2022, it's a massive number of people who have just stayed. They're going to stay.
Think about how many people used Web3 though. And I think NFTs are, largely responsible for getting normies to use Web3, which is, it's really incredible, because in 2017, 2018, nobody fucking used Web3. There wasn't anything to do. If you wanted to trade, you traded on, Binance or, somewhere else. Like, that was it. Like, now there's people, Web3 is big. maybe we can say like we've reached adoption.
I'm with you. I held one of our buddies, Bartosh and Jordan. They showed me their cupcake app.
You scared me there for a second.
Did you wash your dainty fingies first?
No,
a guy named Bartosh, he's back in.
RT, go to cupcake.com. Tell you what,
RT, don't put that on the screen. Let's err on the side of safety.
These guys are like true space marines. They are guys who built the whole infrastructure for Solana NFTs. But they showed me something that you don't even really know you're using crypto. This was the easiest experience, the easiest, like, most simple UX that I've seen. And this is the stuff that is going to bring the normies. They literally just tripped over like 30,000 people coming on to their app already.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there is stuff that they're doing with NFTs and these like sticker type things for clothes, for different things. There's brilliant people working on stuff that's going to blow our minds. We can't even imagine it, and normies are going to be in here. I'm really, really like bullish on. Listen, I don't think it's not like a profile pic type of thing, but NFTs and non-fungible tokens and everything about it is it's going to bring billions of people.
The iterations of it are what excites me. Like the use cases that we haven't even thought of, kind of like when the internet was founded. I mean, it wasn't for years that YouTube was even invented, right? And I saw a fun thing. I follow this account, Uber Facts, for anyone who likes random nerdy facts. But it was something about like, it was the Janet Jackson Super Bowl boobies that caused the founders of YouTube to create YouTube, because there wasn't a place on the internet reliably to upload videos. Apparently that's what they're crediting to them creating it, was when Justin Timberlake, pulled the dress off accidentally or not. And that was what started YouTube. So it's going to be these iterations of things I can't even think of right now.
Go to the top. There's so right. NFTs from the real world, like fresh out of the oven. It's connecting. They're closing the gap between digital and physical with clothes, with, luxury stuff, provability, everything you can imagine. And it's so simple.
Digital.
Simple.
What's it called?
Yeah. Finally, once the user interface and user experience thing gets solved a couple times here, it's off to the races. People won't even know that they're doing crypto stuff, that there's a blockchain in the background. Yes. Sorry, go ahead. I get excited. So I'm with Messi here. This isn't just vapor. It's a different it's a different bear market. It's a different 70% drawdown. There's stuff that is, truly, truly value here that's going to create value. So, do your research, get in there.
Yeah. And really, I think it's a good time to be researching where that value can be, I guess, harvested or harnessed. You don't want to just assume like, number of everything go up because this is really bullish. Usage could go up. That cupcake thing looks dope. Maybe it never gets a token, right? So, but there might be some other way. So as speculators, I think the game's going to get harder.
Yep.
And it's not going to be as simple as, I think that's short-sighted too. I think at some point in the next couple of years, we will have something as simple as number go up again, up only season. That's just human nature, but for the next little bit, at least, I think a year here, the chop will be disgusting, and so rotatoring is going to be the sport to play if you don't want to just sit back and try to play easy mode long term.
When there are so many different places you can put your money, and there are so few people relative to the amount of places you can put your money to actually put money there, you do have to be very choosy. You've got to be very selective, on what you're buying.
Yeah. Yep. And as the market matures and the players, and we're already seeing this in many places where we're just trading against more sophisticated systems traders, bots, arbitrageurs, I should say. Arborists are actually like tree doctors.
Yeah,
But anyways, I was reading an article about an arborist yesterday. Okay, so arbitrageurs, the MEV. Messi, what's your take on this? Gunny and I brought it up yesterday. It's something to do with manifold finance and this idea that with ETH2, the discoverer of a block on that POS chain will be the one who can put together the most valuable block. And so there is going to be this like sport where it's like, MEV, like how can I get as many of the most valuable transactions into a block, and it will be selected to be mined next and I will get the reward. So it's this idea of this like blood sport to be the most valuable block producers. Have you heard of this? Are you familiar with it?
MEV on POS?
Well, just the idea of like, if you can build the most valuable blocks as an entity. And that's one of the big value props for Manifold is through their MEV stuff and all their very advanced things that I don't quite understand, is the idea that they'll drive a ton of revenue through to their stakers by being somebody who's like building like a major miner, in other words.
Kobe made some really interesting comments on that on his latest Up Only episode with Zuko, which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it, it's been my favorite episode so far. It almost made me want to shove my entire net worth into Zcash after hearing him, because he's just such an awesome guy. He's extremely knowledgeable, extremely likable. He's here for the right reasons, and will be here his entire life. I have no doubt that this guy is going to continue working on this and pushing his technology forward. That said, I know fucking better than putting my money into Zcash, because I know what happens when you do. But there's some really interesting MEV opportunities that are presented, with Ethereum proof of stake. And the conversation, he's said it a lot better than I can. But the really interesting thing was Zuko was making comparisons between economies of scale and proof of work and proof of stake. Whereas with proof of work, I believe it's an exponential curve, and proof of stake is a linear curve, based on how much money you have, giving you an unfair advantage relative to smaller producers, smaller block producers. But Kobe actually brought up the point that because of MEV, the proof of stake itself could be on an exponential curve as well, because the people with more weight are going to be able to structure these multi-block MEV opportunities, and they're going to have a higher APR for their stakers than just the guy running a node in his basement. But anyway, you guys definitely need to go check that out. Great episode, loved it. By the way, do we have a mod in chat? We have some naked Tinder girl.
Somebody's been modding, probably Coach. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It says it was deleted by Rob. Okay.
So yeah, Fold now. I know we talked about this quite a while ago, Messi. Actually, it was like way back. I brought this to your attention because it stinks of your kind of DeFi nerdiness, and I say that with the utmost respect. The kinds of gigabrain, MEV type shit that you often are into. I believe I brought it up to you back here, although you've missed a very boring year, so nothing really to be said. But have you looked into this yet? And if so, what do you make of it? If not, why not?
Okay. Look, Manifold is cool. Okay. But here's my but.
Mm-hmm.
And it has gone up, right?
It broke out, yeah.
It didn't take a lot to push that up. There's like $500,000 of liquidity on chain, and what's the market?
It's not. No, that's always been my knock, and why I don't bring it up is the liquidity. But
I mean, that's my main problem, is because it's already not a huge market cap, but it already has some market cap to it, and there's just not a lot of liquidity there. So I mean, there's a really high chance for things like that, and this is why liquidity matters. Okay. Mm-hmm. I could buy that and not even buy that big of a position relative to the market cap, but then I look at the price and, oh my God, I just marked it up 10%. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if you're a smaller operator, you can buy something with low liquidity like that, right? Even if it's a great project, and I think Manifold's a great project with a really good team. I can buy something like that. And then, one guy that's not even that big of a whale comes in and decides to sell his bag, and you're immediately down 15%.
Or more.
Yeah, you need liquidity there. You need liquidity there to make it to where plebs can't influence the price of the things that you're buying. So that's really my only complaint, about that project. But I do think it is a success. I think it will be a bigger success. And of course, as proof of stake, as that narrative comes into play, I mean, MEV, the game totally changes. And I think there's going to be a lot of new opportunities for the guys that are, way smarter than anybody on this panel.
Yeah, that's what excites me. Is there was a thread put out the other day by something Billy Bob Bagholder or something. Anyways, great thread, and it was the first real like in-depth kind of overview of all the points in Manifold, and I think that's actually what drove a lot of this rally. And one of the reasons I don't talk about it much on stream, or if I do, I talk very sheepishly about it, is because I don't want people losing sight of that lack of liquidity. I think it's inevitable that they will get their liquidity up. I've heard various sort of ideas and strategies on how that's going to happen, whether that's a new raise and it goes entirely to just pumping putting in the LP. But I think once that is solved, this is probably one of my favorite plays over the next year, 2 years. But I'm glad to hear that you've looked into it. I was just worried that you kind of glossed over the MEV stuff.
No, I mean,
so up your alley.
The one reason I've kept out of that is what I just described.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually why, I mean, we were obviously in their sale like 2 years ago, but it's one of the reasons why I have a hard time playing in it right now, other than maybe trying to get some bids in this 20 zone here if we come down, which is crazy to think about, right? Like the level I'm looking to buy is 50% below where it is, and it wouldn't take much to move it there.
It wouldn't. And the thing is it really, I mean, the chart looks good. It really has marked up a lot recently, but when you really think about it, it didn't take that much money to mark that price up.
No, and it's not going to take much to bring it down. And that's kind of what I pointed out when I did mention it, is that like, yeah, it's good news. It goes up fast, but the good news is like you can buy a really juicy dip on two guys trying to sell. So
yeah, for sure.
It's a gross kind of crazy place if you're there with more than 10K. But anyways, I love it. I think the ETH2 thing is going to really send it. And I hope that they can get liquidity in so we can have a nice accumulation period with liquidity. But anyways. Yep. So we're getting near the hour 10-minute mark. Is there any other names that you think are relevant of mention, themes you're seeing, narratives emerging, any good stuff before we go? Maybe some guys in the chat want to ask a question for a minute or two.
Yeah, any questions, lob them out there. I mean, I think we could talk about for a little bit this exploit or hack of a wallet provider on Solana.
Yeah. A lot of FUD around that, a lot of misinformation.
A ton of misinformation. Mm-hmm. I mean, the misinformation is just so rampant.
Mis and disinformation.
It's crazy. But even looking at these, I just despise some of these people on like Twitter who are so maxis and go after other chains and stuff. But
mute them. It's the greatest thing you'll ever do.
Okay. The first piece of misinformation was that the hack totaled like close to $600 million.
Yeah.
That wasn't true. And the reason was because 570 million of that was an artificially inflated shitcoin with like $5 worth of liquidity. Okay?
Not real. Yeah.
It just wasn't even real. So I think the total losses because of that, which are still bad, you don't want people to lose money or less than $10 million. So that was pretty bad. The second piece of disinformation that I saw was something along the lines of, Solana itself, being fucked or not being safe. That wasn't true. So it's my understanding that there was a wallet provider for Solana that was transmitting keys over the internet in clear text, in plain text, which is the biggest fucking no-no ever. They're just sending your fucking seed phrase and putting it on some server. I mean, that's how Ian Bellina got his shit stolen a long time ago. I mean, so many people have gotten their shit stolen. That's how they caught the Bitfinex hacker weirdos. They had their keys on a centralized server. It's the biggest fucking no-no ever. Unencrypted, blah, blah, blah. So, look, not your keys, not your coins, but if you're going to have self-custody, which I'm sure some of you watching this, like, you do have business having self-custody. If you don't have a hardware wallet right now, it's very important. It's the best investment you can possibly make in crypto.
Yep.
You need, in Solana, Ledger works on Solana. You have to get yourself a hardware wallet because you need to, if you're going to be your own bank, let's say you have $10,000, not having a hardware wallet is like putting a table in front of your house with 10 grand on it and hoping nobody walks up and takes it. when you have your own hardware wallet, now you've got a bank vault in your house, which is significantly harder to get into. And these hardware wallets keep your keys totally offline. So what actually happens is, when you sign a transaction or whatever, it sends that to the wallet. Your wallet signs it. Those private keys are never exposed to the dangerous World Wide Web. And then it sends that signed transaction, the permission to do things with your money, out to the internet. And nobody can fuck you up using that. Okay? Yep. Go get a hardware wallet right now. Dead ass serious.
And as you mentioned that, I just remembered Gunny put out a nice shout yesterday. Basically, we are giving away 3 Hxro branded Ledger Nano S hardware wallets in honor of the unfortunate not Solana exploit. I think he caught himself there just after posting that.
Wait, I didn't even get one of those.
I would like one as well. I know. You know what? I have a Salt branded one. Remember Salt? Summer 2017 CFI.
Yeah, that was fun stuff.
Yeah. So I still have that ledger to remind me. So yeah, to enter, like this tweet, you can follow Gunny and Real Hero Labs and Hero Network, and then join our Discord. All things you should do anyways, and you might get a branded ledger. I'll put this link into the chat. So if you guys haven't done that, I think the giveaway will be announced sometime today in the next.
Do we have any pictures of the ledger? I mean, I'm sure it's cool. Our branding and logo, it's super badass. But
here's the one thing to continue on this thought when I brought it up was that
it's going to look like this. But Hxro. Okay.
I think that there's an opportunity in Solana relative to others. I think Sam Fried came out with a little video interview with, I think maybe Fortune or something yesterday or a couple days ago. And, I would advise people to watch it. The he's right about a lot of things. And he thinks that Solana is potentially extremely undervalued. I just would advise you to watch it and make your own decisions. But I think Solana is, we're going to look back and wish we picked more up on this down 90% level. So
yeah, let's take a look at it. I was mentioning, obviously we discussed it yesterday, Gunny and I. Interesting that let's go see now before I go talking, Harry. Yeah, let's get it in there. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It didn't really drop. It's kind of creating this structure where I really do want to see it move here pretty quick. Where it's just beating this trend line to death. So I don't want to see it get too lazy here. Otherwise, we might be looking at, nothing crazy, but maybe like a little local reload zone. But it does look very floory, if that's a word.
But and definitely just listen to what Sam said.
Okay.
He looks at a ton of shit.
Where can we find that?
I don't know. I saw the initial link somewhere on Twitter. But I'm sure if you type in SBF Fortune or something in the search.
Where was it? I wouldn't mind sharing it in the chat. Personally, I would just like to get it myself. But
Fortune magazine, he wrote at Solana is the most underrated token right now.
Okay.
So
he last time he said something like that, he was threatening to buy as much as anyone wanted to sell under $3. So we're at 38. We're 10x, just a little over.
Yeah.
13x. 12.5x. Okay, cool. Well, I've bought a little. I moved it back away from my wallet and all that noise, but I think I can go back to my wallet. I'm always locked to the ledger, so I always forget that all these exploits, they're often, if not always, based on hot wallets.
Yep.
So if you're using a hot wallet, smarten up. Don't be that guy or lady. And yeah. I love most of the charts down here. Like Solana and AVAX look very similar to me, and they just all look great. So it's just about fastest horse, right? Can I ride a BOBA 2x and then go get more Solana before it even moves? That's the kind of like trader dichotomy or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Trader dilemma. Okay, guys, let's get back to the thing. The old studio down at the beach. What do we got coming up? We got the network effect coming up next Wednesday. Still on a Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah.
And
if you're in Chicago, we're having an event next Thursday, August 11th. Come by. You can ping us. It's going to be a good little hero fest.
I actually think I might try to come down like for the day, fly in, Thursday
Really?
morning, fly home Friday, like because I'm family things on both sides of that, and I was like I can't go. Now I'm like fuck it, I'm FOMO. So
That would be great, but
yeah,
why don't you find a different time so you can actually hang out a little bit? You don't have to do that.
I know,
That's going to
weird.
sacrifice a real proper trip down.
Golf
But
day.
yeah.
Yeah, I would like to play some with you. I got better than last year, so I gotta show you.
Yeah, the only other thing, like honestly, someone is in there selling Bitcoin right now. Like I'm a little surprised that it's kind of underperformed this last little leg higher in like equities. But you could tell, like even watching during the show, I think Bitcoin's down like $300. It's like 22.6 now, but
Nice little candle there, yeah.
it's illiquid. Someone's in there selling it, so that could literally turn around in a blink. But you can tell. Like I was thinking, wow, with equities up, I just would have thought we'd see a little bit more kind of pep in the step, but there's some people in there unloading.
I wouldn't be shocked if we come down, as we kind of like, it's just this like slow meandering uptrend, and it's just made a new high. We got to make a higher low, and that should come in around 22, 21.8, like for a few different reasons that I've got. So it's not bearish yet in any sense of the word. A breakdown from this kind of stuff, below 21, I get to reevaluate everything. But until then, it's just kind of boring price action.
My son's camp is cool.
Yeah. No, all good. Hey, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Whatever you do from now until next week, thanks for coming. Like, sub, all that good stuff. And always play from a position of strength. Take care.
No farts this time, RT.
No farts. But, you notice I do this a lot, though, eh? Like, I adjust. It's this bloody chair. Anyways, I didn't fart.
If you guys didn't see it, towards the end of last episode, when we're in the lab, when we're wrapping up, RT literally splits his chair in half.
Yeah, it was like too perfect. I swear you leaned out of the thing and did it. I still feel like that, but I wouldn't put it past me. I wouldn't put it past me.
Pretty real to me. You guys go check out the end of last week's episode. It's really funny. I've watched it about 50 times myself.
I put 20 out there. My lady, this is the best part. My lady, I showed it to her. I was like, "Magic Penny me," and I think he did it. She's like, "You really?" Like, I know you did it.
I mean,
she knows I did it.
The fart noise happens as RT is like making like the face, and he's over his chair like this. So I mean, it was just too perfect.
It was so embarrassing. I just looked at it after. I was like, did I really do that? I couldn't tell. I don't know. So we'll find out. Tune in next week. All right.